Hi, this is Flash Johnson. We're going to be talking about some Photoshop basics today. We're going to go over the Photoshop Workspace, navigation, and quick keys. So right now what we're going to do is look at how Photoshop is laid out, and then we're going to discuss the best ways to have it set up for practical use. So on the top, you have your file menus, like normal. Then you have a properties panel. You got your tools. Over here you have a lot of palettes that are docked right now. I actually don't like the dock concept because it takes up valuable real estate from your monitor and your image. So I'm going to show you how to set this up so it's most efficient to work on. But first of all, let's come over here, grab the tools, undock it, click on the little two arrows right here. So you got two rows. That's the way you want to have your tools set up. Alright, let's take a quick look at what these panels are. So you have your color panel. Let's drag that over here and take a look at it. This helps you choose color in CMYK or RGB or whatever. Over here you have all your various possible settings, and every panel is going to have the same kind of options pull-down menu. But the way that you choose color in Photoshop is you come over here to the toolbar and you double-click on the color on the foreground or background, and then you get your color picker. This is where you choose color in Photoshop. So we're just going to cancel out of that, and since we don't need this panel, we're going to close it. Swatches is very important. However, the image you're working on is made up of pixels. Each pixel is a color. Those colors inside of your image are native colors, and so you can use those swatch colors instead of this one. Now if you happen to need a particular color, then you would put it in the swatches and you can refer to it when you need to. But unless you need to do that, you don't need to have swatches open. Styles. It's only necessary to have this palette up when you're going to use them. So I'm going to get rid of them. Adjustments. Now the adjustment panel or palette is actually important now. It is where your adjustment layers information is going to be displayed. So that one's going to keep popping up whether you like it or not. So we have to keep it up. Then there's a new masks palette. Pretty interesting. Allows you to do more with vector masks and other masks than you would be able to see on the surface. And though it is powerful for this class, I don't want you to use it. I want you to know how to do it manually, and then you'll be able to use this when you think it's necessary. And then we have this other panel. I'm going to de-dock the mini bridge. We don't need that. I'm going to de-dock this history. Now history is good, so we're going to open it up and we're going to drag it over and we're going to join it to the adjustments. Obviously history is the recorded steps, usually 20 steps past that you've done. So if you've made a mistake within that last 20 steps, you can go back to that place and start from there, or make other kind of edits, and we'll talk about that later. So what you're left with, and what you should only be left with, are layers, channels, and paths. These are the most important panels to have in your work environment, and you'll notice now that we have a lot of space in which we can do our work. So that's how you're going to set it up. Now let's look and see what some of these do. I want to make a dummy file real quick so we can just kind of play with the tools real quick so you can get an idea what's going on. So Control N is new document, Control N. Make sure it's in inches, okay. So now width is going to be 8. Height is going to be 10. Resolution 300. So up here you have your selection tools above this line, this divider line you see. So we have tools to make selections. We have our crop tool, our eyedropper tool, and you're going to notice under each one of these tools that has a little black tab on the corner, there's more tools. So there's a lot of other tools that are in here. The lasso tools, Slice tools for doing web stuff. More selection tools. The move tool to move a layer, objects on a layer. Deselect. Then we have patch tool and healing brush, and all these are very good. You'll use these for doing a lot of restoration editing. You have your normal brush that you're used to or will be used to. Got a pencil and all these other things, but what you're going to focus on is just this brush right here. Here we have a clone stamp tool and a pattern stamp tool. Don't use a pattern stamp tool. It doesn't clone what you want, it clones pattern from somewhere else. You're going to use a clone stamp tool. Then you have your history brush where you can take and grab a past state and paint it into the present state. It's very powerful. An eraser, which you should never use. Then you have a gradient tool. So I can go like this, makes a gradient. We have a blur tool, sharpen tool, smudge tool, dodge, burn, and sponge. This is used to make pixels that are already there darker or lighter or more saturated. And you have a pen tool. So these here were the selection tools. These here are the pixel editing tools, and these here are the vector tools. So vector is the other kind of graphic format. You might get into using this in this class, but it's not focused on. I'm just showing you what it is. See, I can change this on the fly. Pretty powerful. This is from Illustrator, but it's also incorporated in Photoshop. Delete it. So this is an arrow, so you can select vectors, manipulate them. Your text tools, shape tools that are vector oriented. Then you have these 3D tools and perspective tools, which you won't be using in this class. Your hand tool and your zoom tool. Now you're going to use these all the time, but you're not supposed to come over and touch them. I'll show you how to use those in a second. Down here we have the foreground and the background color. This arrow right here will flip foreground and background color. Clicking, clicking. This right here will set true black and true white. And this is the quick mask mode. So if you go into quick mask mode, put you into a selection mode where when you paint in here, you're not really painting on the image, you're defining a selection. You're painting an area that will be or that is selected. And so now when we come out of the mask mode, you'll notice that, well, it's actually the opposite. So over here, this is selected and this is not. Exactly as we painted it. Okay, so I'm going to deselect, Control D. So let's look at the hand tool and the zoom tool. Now obviously what these do is they zoom in and zoom out, but you won't be able to tell because we don't have an image right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint something on here real quick so that you can see, have a point of reference. So when I zoom in, I come over here. Now I'm showing you how this tool works, but this is not how you're supposed to do it. You're not supposed to come click on this. You're going to use quick keys to do this. But anyway, we come over here, I'm going to click once, I zoom in, click again, I zoom in, click again, I zoom in. And then if I hold Alt down, the Alt key, you notice my zoom in tool is now has a negative on it. And now we're going to zoom out when I click. So I click and I zoom out, I click and I zoom out, click and I zoom out, because Alt is held down and it makes it a zoom out tool. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to try to move it. But it's not moving. Now this is not the move tool. This is the move tool up here. But this moves the hand moves your perspective. So if I change the view, I'm going to hit F to change the view. Now what that means is now I can move this around. See, I can move this around. I'm not moving the layer. I'm not moving the image per se. What I'm doing is I'm moving my eye around so that I can see what's going on. So now I'm going to zoom in again as I click in here, and wherever I click that becomes closer to the center. Now I'm going to go back to the hand tool and I'm going to move around. See this? So it's as if I'm moving my perspective, but I'm not moving the image. Okay, I'm moving my perspective. That's what happens when you use this hand. Now, if you're in the middle of an operation, you don't want to have to come over here, stop what you're doing, click on the zoom tool and zoom in or out, or the hand tool and move around. And in many operations, you can't even touch the tools anymore because they're locked out, because you're locked into an operation. However, if you know how to navigate using the quick keys, you can do whatever you want to do. The way that works is I'm going to go to the Safe tool just to show you. So I'm in the lasso, okay? It means nothing. I make a selection, I click once, it deselects. Make a selection, click once, deselects. So I'm demonstrating my navigation tools, okay? So here we go. I hold the space bar down. It becomes the hand. See that? The space bar is held down and I have the hand. Now I can move around, and notice that even though I'm moving around, I'm still in the lasso tool. See? The lasso tool is still depressed over here. So I hold the space bar down again. See that? I hold it down and I grab the mouse and I click the mouse and hold the mouse and I move it and I'm grabbing, and it looks like I'm moving the image, but I'm not. I'm moving my perspective. I'm moving my eye around. Okay, now I'm going to add to the space bar. I'm going to hold space bar down. Now I'm going to add control to that, and I get the zoom in tool. Now I click, I zoom in, I keep clicking, I'm zooming in, and then I add to the space bar control Alt. So now I have space bar, control, and Alt depressed all at the same time, and I click and I zoom out. So I'm going to quickly zoom in. I'm going to hold spacebar and control down. I get my zoom tool. I can zoom in like so, dragging the mouse, or I can just click and define an area, which is not letting me do at the moment because my presets are different. So I'm going to zoom in, zoom out, move around, zoom in, move around, zoom in really close, move around. Okay, see how we're doing that? So play with that. That's how you navigate. Now I'm holding all three down. Space bar, Control, Alt. I'm zooming out. Notice I'm not coming over here to navigate. And I'm not working way out here. When you're doing your edits and your manipulations, you want to be close. You want to see what's going on. So you got to get in close. Notice how the history panel is recording all of the steps I've been doing. But it only records the last 20 steps and then it gets cut off. So if you did something past then, it's gone. Now you can set it to be farther than that, but if you do, it takes up a lot of memory. Okay, so 20 steps is a good number for history. Now we're going to talk about the quick keys. I'm going to flip over real quick to your book. Now in your book on page 4, you have your quick key shortcuts. You need to learn these by heart. So whether you're on a Mac or PC, it's the same. You just change out the command for control and your alt for an option. But this is written for Windows, so you do the conversion. Undo, the most important one. Control Z. Control N, new. Open, Control O. So you can go here and just read all these. Here's the navigation shortcuts. The hand is the space bar. Zoom in is space bar plus control. Zoom out is space bar plus control plus alt. So commit these to memory and they're going to help you. If you do not know how to use these keys or the navigation, you're going to hinder your productivity and you're not going to learn very quickly. So we're going to go back over to Photoshop. So remember, this is how you set up your Photoshop. You have your layers, channels, paths, adjustments, and history. And notice where they're at. Layers, channels, and paths are on the right side. Adjustments and history are on the left side, as well as the tools. This is so you can move these around wherever you need to. So if we're zoomed in and we're working real close and I want to change my tool, I have access to it and I can do what I want and it makes sense and it's in order. I don't like it to be up against here docked like that because it doesn't give you as much flexibility. Alright, so that's it.